Welcome to Retail Management Hero. RMH is a complete point-of-sale solution that makes it easy for retailers to manage their floor sales and back-office functions. In this video, I will demonstrate how to use the import utility to add or update items in your store or central database, and how to import item aliases. The import utility is available for both Store Manager and Central Manager. The import utility works the same way in both apps. So, while I will demonstrate the import utility in Store Manager, everything you learn in this video is applicable to the import utility in Central Manager as well. You can use the import utility to add new items to the database, update the properties of items that already exist in the database, and import new aliases for items. The import utility is extremely useful if you want to add or update items in bulk from a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet must have a file extension of CSV, XLS, or XLSX. You can use the spreadsheet to import values for up to 44 different item fields, such as item lookup code, description, extended description, item type, item tax, price, and cost. You will find two sample import spreadsheets called itemimport.csv and aliasimport.csv under C, Program Files x86, and Retail Hero. Depending on which app you are using, you will need to open either the RMH Store Manager or RMH Central Manager folders, and then open the Import Utility folder. Let's look at the itemimport.csv sample file. As you can see, it contains a column for each of the 44 item fields supported by the import utility. You do not need to use all of the fields. You can customize your import spreadsheet so it only contains columns for the item fields that you use. For example, if your store does not use price levels for items, you can remove the Price A, B, and C columns from your import spreadsheet. In the same folder, you will also find two text files called itemimport.txt and aliasimport.txt that explain which values you can use in your import spreadsheets. For fields in the item screen that are drop-down lists, such as item type, numbers are used to represent the different values available in the drop-down list. For example, the number 0 is used to represent the standard item type. The itemimport.txt file identifies the number assignments for specific field values. While we're looking at item type, note that you cannot use the import utility to add or update matrix, lot matrix, or assembly items. Let's look at a common scenario for adding items. A bird store vendor, a book publisher, has new books available as part of their spring release. Bird Store has ordered 4 books and needs to add them to the database. The vendor sent a spreadsheet with the order details, which I am going to use to build an import spreadsheet. You will notice that the column headings in the vendor's spreadsheet do not match the item fields exactly. A good example is ISBN. There is no ISBN field in the item screen. However, Bird Store, like many retailers, uses the book's ISBN as the item lookup code. Similarly, there's no title field on the item screen. Bird Store's practice is to add a book's title and subtitle to the extended description field so it is easy to look up in POS. You do not have to change the column headings to match the field labels on the item screen. However, one of the import steps, which I will demonstrate in a moment, involves mapping columns in the import spreadsheet to columns in the item table in the database. You may find it easier to perform the column mapping if you rename the column headings in the import spreadsheet. I am going to change ISBN to item lookup code, title to extended description, unit cost to cost, and suggested retail price to price. What about the author column in the vendor's spreadsheet? A bookstore might use one of the custom item fields, such as subdescription 1, 2, or 3, to enter the author's name. However, BirdStore is using the custom item fields to enter an item's manufacturer information and SKU. For books, BirdStore's practice is to put the author's name in the alias field so it's easy to look up the book by author in POS. In the import utility, aliases are imported separately from items. I will demonstrate how to do that in a moment. For now, I will remove the author column from the vendor's spreadsheet. Now that I have renamed the column headings in the import spreadsheet, I need to look at the values themselves and, if necessary, edit them for consistency. For example, the vendor has used dashes in the ISBNs. BirdStore uses the book ISBN as the item lookup code, but does not include the dash. I will remove the dashes so the item lookup codes for these books are consistent with the other item lookup codes in the database. Finally, I need to add columns for the other field values that I want to import into the database, such as description, barcode, department code, and category code. Now that I have added all of the columns and values to the spreadsheet, I'm ready to import. However, before I do that, I should mention a few important import rules. One column in the import spreadsheet must be mapped to the item lookup code column in the database. This is mandatory, since the item lookup code is the key to identifying items in the database. You can use the import utility to add the item lookup codes for new items. However, you cannot use the import utility to change the item lookup code for existing items. You can only import the department and category codes, which are different from the department and category names. If you don't recall the codes, you may need to look them up under the merchandising menu. If you want to import a category code for an item, you must also import the department code. This is a requirement because of the parent-child relationship that exists between departments and categories in the database. Finally, you cannot use the import utility to add new department codes, category codes, item tax codes, supplier codes, tag-along item lookup codes, parent item lookup codes, or item message codes to the database. These must already exist in the database. If they do not exist, the import utility leaves these fields blank in the item record. Now that you know all the import rules, I will demonstrate the import utility. You can open the import utility from the Tools menu in either Store Manager or Central Manager. Select the import spreadsheet. If it is an XLS or XLSX file and has multiple worksheets, you can select the worksheet that contains the import data from the sheet name field. If it is the first time you are importing data from a spreadsheet, you must manually map the column headings in the spreadsheet to columns in the item table in the database. I will show you how to do that in a moment. Once you select the column mappings, however, you can save them to a JSON or YAML file and reuse them in future imports. If you saved the column mappings from a previous import, you would select the mapping file from this field. I don't have a mapping file yet, so I will leave this field blank for now. Remember how I mentioned earlier that items and aliases are imported separately? You need to indicate whether you are importing items or aliases from the data type field. I am adding items with this import, so I select item. If I was updating existing items, I would select Update Existing Record. I will leave it blank because I am adding items with this import. This is the screen where you map column headings in the spreadsheet to columns in the item table in the database. The first row shows the column headings from the spreadsheet. The second row is where you select the corresponding column from the item table in the database. Make sure you scroll to the right and map all of the columns. To save the column mappings to a JSON or YAML file for future use, click Save Mapping. Review the mappings on this screen to confirm that they are correct. Click Back if you need to change any mappings. Click Import to start the import. The results display in a text file. If there are any errors during import, they are identified in this log file. If you close the log file, you can find it again under C, Program Data, Retail Hero, and, depending on which app you are using, in either the RMH Store Import Utility or RMH Central Import Utility folders. Now, let's look at the items we added to the database. I'm going to search for the items assigned to the Books department. I don't see the books I added. I'm going to clear Books from the search field and click Refresh. There they are at the top. The department and category fields are blank, so there's obviously a problem with either the department or category codes in the spreadsheet. The category code is correct, but it looks like I used the wrong department code. I will fix the code and use the import utility to update the items. The process for updating existing items is similar to the process for adding items. I start by selecting the import spreadsheet. Thankfully, I saved my column mappings to a JSON file with my previous import, so I can select it now. I will select Item from Data Type again, but this time I will select Update Existing Record. I confirm the mappings and click Next and Import. The log file confirms that 4 items were updated. I click Refresh again and search for books. There they are. The new books are now assigned to the correct department and category. There is one more thing I need to do. I need to add each author's name as an alias, so cashiers can look up the books by author in POS. Note that you can use the import utility to add new aliases, but you cannot use it to update or delete existing aliases. I need a separate import spreadsheet to import the aliases. There are only 2 columns in this spreadsheet, item lookup code and alias. Both are mandatory. I start by selecting the import spreadsheet containing the aliases. I haven't imported aliases before, so I haven't saved the column mappings. I will select Alias from Data Type, and I will select Update Existing Record. I select the column mappings, review them, and click Import. The log confirms that 4 new aliases were imported. I open one of the items I updated. I can now see the author's name on the Aliases tab in the item screen. And that's it. As you can see, using the import utility is a quick and easy way to add or update items in bulk from a spreadsheet. Thank you for watching this video demonstration.